and adherence in the U.S. Supreme Court ex parte appearance establishing the basis for death, detaining unlawful bans. The Bush administration has deployed a civil and warrant to financial dimension to involuntary incarcerated individuals in Guantanamo Bay. Johns to testify the U.S. being transferred person captured in military operations to Guantanamo Bay, held that charges unlawful bans. Security Solution has the claimant says by test investigation theater report the criminal lawful ban is taken from currently tail. Other features of this regime has been justified by the Canadian Orthodox and Finland threatened status. Guantanamo Bay detainees well, yes, both beyond the pale of nonviolent political discourse and beyond the legal bounds of warfare convention to governmentality. First, the actually demarcation of unlawful bans constitutes a new form of governmentality that justifies sovereign control of population through the denial of law. Judicial deference on this question legitimates the law of sovereign Butler to support governmentalities that are managing persons and things. The operation of governmentality are actually without being illegal. Governmentality makes concrete the understanding of powers to reduce the law. Governmentality becomes a field in which resurgent sovereignty creators and in this case sovereignty tends to form power that is fundamentally lawless and whose lawlessness can be found in such a way law is fabricated or suspended. In the new war, prisons literally manage populations, thus function as an operation of governmentality, exploits the extra legal dimension to assert a lawless sovereign power over life and death in war prisons. Consider itself its own justification, seeks to extend just self-justification for sovereignty through animating the extra dimension of governmentality. Will be officials who being suspected terrorists or dangerous. It will be officials, not the courts, who abstain from reviewing the case. Indefinitely, the courts themselves are convinced explicitly as an instrument used in the service of national security, the continuing and augmented exercise of state sovereignty, adding to the complexity of laws, the discourse of violence taking place, the unlawful status of bans constitutes a performative death sentence. Hohen 2006, the performity of these sections complex. The order violates the legal distinction between war and terrorism in order to pose category of unlawful bans, place life and death of unlawful bans outside law, instituting exceptions resuscitated the sovereign's right to take life and let live. Third, current legal strategies only entrench governmentality. Unlawful commands are given piecemeal rights to only reify their status as latent bodies. Hohen again, 2006, the administration is trying to create a new legal system. We are witnessing a convergence of sovereignty and governmentality. While the court granted the detainees the right to habeas corpus, it enshrines the right of the law to have the body of the accused brought before it. There are two strands of power emerging from the U.S. an executive acting against established laws to revive the sovereign's power, and on the other hand, a disciplinary jurisdictional apparatus acting against the executive to extend its own jurisdiction over foreign territories. The contest between these two strands is literally a matter of fighting for power over the same foreign bodies. They both contribute to spreading biopower globally by ratifying the category of unlawful bans to restrict the rights to be human. The exercise of sovereignty is not been a matter of taking life so much as producing suspended animation, state of being that is neither alive nor dead. The longer such unlawful bans are deemed a threat, the longer do sovereignty can identify its powers. Indefinite definition is thus an infinite prolongation of sovereignty to resuscitate power. Fourth, unrestricted governmentality orders populations surrendering life disposed by Alden to thus do never have forced so believing before regimes which such health costs on their own populations. The overall power of death is compounded power that administers life through precise controls and comprehensive regulations. Politics becomes increasingly scientific, medical, mathematical. There is a discipline of the individual body. Biopolitics, population, biopower, in possibilities of profiles, extremely meticulous sorting and control through discipline. Contention 3, their life. First, the Bush administration decision to hold people's unlawful bans is framed as an intervention in global security for the sake of humanity. White 2005 will emergency powers still being used for time periods. The Bush administration has predicted war as stretching into the infinite future. War may never end. Continues to be held there until the end of the war. The state of exception is referred to the suspension of law and aims at the restoration of normality under the war terror. However, these criteria no longer apply. The state of emergency overflows to more boundaries and comes to be confused with the ruling expansion of executive power has become part of the new normal American life. As the state of exception becomes the norm, the state is allowed to act with absolute flexibility and without constraint. Second, the supposedly neutral appeal to global humanity established living conditions are recipients to obey by a specific biopolitical world order. White again, 2004. If politics increasingly operates on a global scale, taking all people as a population to be order monitored in order, then citizenship can no longer play the role of policing the binary opposition between those who are and those who are not granted human rights in the area devoid of middle ground, as epitomized by Bush's threat. You are with us, or you are with the terrorist. The role of humanity is not to mark out a universal economy, but to offer decisive proof of the authority of the U.S. imperial project and regime justified its actions to reference the vision of humanity. Anyone who threatens this geopolitical project or even challenges the benevolence of the desirability of the U.S. empire is quickly written out of the sphere of humanity. Third, the Bush administration separation between lawful and unlawful bans uses the right to life to trump political rights as framed and stabilizes human rights as solely the right to biological life. Van Munster, 2004, figure of the terrorist bodies that bear life to the bearer of the sovereign band. Terrorists are not considered a legitimate party in the war. They are criminalized and referred to as unlawful commands. The distinction between enemy command and unlawful command has much in common with the distinction between enemy and foe. The first refers to the concrete other that constitutes an existential threat to the self. The foe refers to the criminalized, degraded other who should be utterly destroyed. One should make sense of the comment by Donald Rumsfeld that the goal of the war was to kill rather than defeat. As many Taliban as possible, the ultimate image of treatment of local populations from testosterone, the American war flying above one is never sure will drop bombs or food parcels. Second aspect of the transformation of life into bare life is the war on terrorism in terms of status and treatment of detained suspected terrorism. Many of the detainees are not granted the prisoner of war status is required as possible to protect the jurisdictional political structure of the state of exception and detained centers such as Guantanamo Bay, as detainees are stripped from all legal rights while they remain subjected to the power exercise over them. Fourth, rights based on biological life make the right to life the supreme goal of politics. White, two, thus more political thinkers have sought to deal in politics setting and apart from mere life. The purpose of politics was not to lead a good life, but only through a political action to one create a good and truly human life. These thinkers conceived of a natural life that would be excluded from the realm of politics that was presumed at which it simultaneously be excluded and politicized due to the transformation of a hostile relationship between terms of bare life would be exclusive. Exclusion of bare life included what is held in the ban in order to enable the existence of politics. Common gives the name bare life to that which separates the political sphere from the sphere of natural life. The threshold has succumbed to instability as management of biological life becomes a supreme political task. Life and death are non-worldly and anti-political, can no longer be sustained as life and death are politicized. We see concerns with racial purity and biological heredity, which became the fundamental tasks of the Nazi state. The necessity for biopolitics pass over to a politics of death. Death is always lurking behind the state's care for life. Finally, the right to life is security of biological life mandates perpetual annihilation and genocide. Cavillio, 2000, apocalypse change and echo wave. Apocalypse signified an for threatening everything with a symbolic destruction and a post-nuclear world. Apocalypse is various parameters are defined local, threatening the safety and prosperity of shares beyond population. Apocalypse now one green seal. Apocalypse from now on. Apocalypse is ever present because it is ever useful through the threat of destruction, the constant reproduction of the figure of apocalypse. Agencies of power ensure their authority to act through the bodies of particular populations as managers of life and survival. Agencies power presumes on the behalf of the existence of everyone whatsoever might be construed as a threat to life serves to authorize any expression of force, no matter how invasive or annihilating. If genocide is indeed the dream of the modern power, this is not because we return to the ancient right to kill us, because power is situated and exercised at the level of life. For a state that would arm itself not with the power to kill its population, but with power over the patterns and functionings of its collective life, the threat of an apocalyptic demise seems a civic initiative that can scarcely be done without. We propose the following plan through all necessary means. The United States Supreme Court should overrule Ex parte Current 317 U.S. 1, 1942, and hold that there is no distinction between lawful and unlawful bans, money enforcement through normal means of reserve clarification, contention for the ballot. First, the United States Supreme Court should overrule current to promote political goals. The use of the law reveals legal current that secretly conditions rights and bound political criteria. Greg, to justify flaws and created to human rights creation's law is jurisprudence. That's the only thing there is fighting for jurisprudence. That's what being on the left is about. It's creating the right. Illegal combatants is an opening in the overdetermined interests of the righteous. How laws of war are relevant in the circumstances of war has been declared illegally is the essence of a contradiction. There is little recourse to the idea of an illegal combatant when war is conducted without sanction. It's important since the opportunities that do not lie the same exceptional abstraction of legal vacuum created crucial to its success. The contradictions delivered by the hegemonic articulations of our tactics to confront these powers in the service of the empire law has been good for the neoconservatives as it offers a tribute to intensity and amplified through mass media, but having understood procedures leading to the point where human beings are stripped of their rights, we hope to encourage a revolutionary diversity to unsettle the refrain. So confronting the righteous, the politics of law must confront the current climate in the USA where liberal is a taboo category. Hegemonic rule wins support by consensus. We don't consent when the laws we do believe it are sold out. As long as this conjuncture stays defining the abstract fundamental terms of the righteous, we hope you'll join us in asking where is the law and unlawful combatant. Second, the ballot can recognize the failings of the law and use the plan to develop sites of resistance to challenge governmentality and promote self-determination. Butler, 2004. I am not interested in the rule of law, but in the place of laws, articulation of international conception of rights and obligations, but limited contradictions in the over by state sovereignty, and in elaborating an account of power that will produce effective sites of intervention and humanizing effects of the new war prisons. International models can be exploited, but a new internationalism must nevertheless strive for the rights of the stateless self-determination that does not result in the forms of state sovereignty. The points of intervention have proliferated. The aim of politics not only merely overthrow the state, a broader set of taxes are opened up by the feeling of mortality, including the discourse of that shape, and define what we mean by human. There can be no legitimate exercise of self-determination that is not contradicted by limited by an international conception of human rights that provides an obligatory framework for state action. Additionally, each instance of rejecting bare life opens up space for being called well to 2004. Whatever being is life that defines classifications or traditions, reduction of all forms of life to homo sauce, whatever being is reclaimed not for class, but for simply the generic absence of any belonging, but for simply belonging itself. It is life which has always had its own concern. Whatever being is not abstract life, perhaps promised to us in the future. Whatever being is all around us. Whatever we reject the criteria of sovereign power, we use to classify the value of life. At every point where we refuse the distinction of sovereignty in the state, which manifests the possibility of a non-state world made up of whatever life appears. Finally, the reflective politicization must begin with the distinction between real life and political life. Warner, 1989, to recognize the ethical and the political cannot be separated. Recognize the difficulties inherent in living in the world. Idealists live in a realist world. Idealism and realism resides at the same different sides at the same point. We move away from wrong, then we must also move away from the idealism and separation from the interior and the political part of the world in which we both have a specific place. We have a very particular relationship, reducing the divide between two opens up a whole host of possibilities.
Okay, this card you're reading about there. Okay, awesome. About there not being, you can't separate the political and the ethical, correct?
Yeah.
This evidence is talking about. What is the tie between the ethical and the political that cannot be broken down?
Our Warner evidence indicates that idealism and realism are different sides of the same coin. That you can't, bomb somebody Monday through Saturday and then go to church on Sunday. You have to be responsible for your actions, and you have to be responsible.
So what does he have to do with your affirmative?
You have to take an ethical stance against their life.
So you have to take an ethical stance against bare life, but are you limiting access to the political? What is this card? This card just says there's a difference between the political and the ethical. What does that do?
Yeah, that we have to we can't just do the plan, we have to do it for the right reasons.
Okay, well, let's talk about the plan then. What exactly happens when ex parte hearing is over?
According to the plan, there would be the Supreme Court would hold that there is no distinction between law and balance.
Which means what? Do they get like habeas corpus rights? Do they go to court?
Well, the plan does not specify, and the 1AC does not take a stance.
Well, I'm asking,
Yeah,
what's the plan to like are there habeas corpus rights? What happens to Guantanamo Post? What happens to
The
these
people who are in
detainees?
Guantanamo that are labeled enemy combatants would no longer be labeled as such.
They'd be labeled what instead?
Our argument is not what they would be labeled, that there would be no distinction between what an enemy combatant is and what a POW or a legal combatant is.
Okay, so are they still detained just not labeled as enemy
And
combatants?
the direct result of the plan would not result in their freedom.
Okay, so they're still detained in Guantanamo, right? And the president can still exert his authority over what happens within that detention?
As long as they're not labeled enemy combatants.
Okay. What exactly cannot be done when they're labeled as enemy, or what can be done when they're labeled as enemy combatants that cannot be done when that label goes
I
away?
don't know if our F really talks about what can be done to the people that are labeled enemy combatants, but what that justification of a distinction between the two does.
Okay.
Our argument is that distinction is bad.
Why?
Because
Why is that distinction
it allows the
itself bad?
sovereign to exclude entire populations from the law by using the law. That's what our Butler evidence indicates, right? That's a form of biopower according to our Homan evidence, which is bad according to
So
our
what
Evan
exactly
evidence.
happens to the entirety of sovereign power post? I mean, you
I guess
collapse
we don't.
sovereign power.
I guess we're not going to claim we collapse sovereignty. Our argument is probably that we constrain governmentality.
You constrain governmentality. So what does that mean for the future? Can Bush still make decisions in the war on terror? Like, is that considered part of his governmentality?
Well, decisions in the war on terror, it's quite vague. Like,
I mean, like, does he have the ability to
Still
make
decide
decisions
things.
for the country?
yeah,